This is like the biggest pause button ever in life, huh? This pandemic. Whew. I know I'm rethinking a lot of the things I want to do and how I want to do them and how I would go about it. I'm sure you are too. And these are good things to think about because this is a time to reinvent yourself. Maybe some things ended, maybe some things began, maybe some things are in limbo. For instance, I'm in limbo here at Guy Sagrada, waiting for the retreat center to be open again. But honestly, I'm liking the break. I'm taking advantage of it because I've really needed a lot of self care time for a long time. And I'm also rethinking about some of the ways that I want to be in this world. For instance, I want to travel more. I want to. I'd love to just jump in an RV and just cruise around the United States, hiking at all my favorite places. That would be my big fantasy right now, but I think I'll wait until things calm down until after the election. What do you think? um, but the thing is that since we're being forced into this pause button, life just came to a standstill, right? Since we're being pushed into this pause button, use it as the opportunity that it is. It's a real opportunity. It's actually not necessarily a curse, it's an opportunity. How many of us have wished that we had time to think about the bigger things in life, to reevaluate our life and how we want to do it? How many times have we wished we had time for meditation or time for self care or time for exercise or time for just reading a book? I mean, I haven't had time to read books in years because I've been so busy with everything that I've been doing. Not that it wasn't good work that I was doing. Of course, it was good work, helping a lot of people and helping people here at the retreats and helping people with the school, the University of Metaphysical Sciences, helping people here at Gaia Sagrada Retreat Center. All of it is a chance to just step back and pause. Just pause. If we can't push the river, we can't make things happen that don't want to happen. We can't make things open. We can't make a lockdown end if there's higher powers in government that are making it how it is. We can't change that. But what we can change is how we approach the pause, how we approach the day the world stood still at the time of the lockdown that started in March for everyone. I always kind of think of that like the day the world stood still because it really was like that when we were driving around in Cuenca on that first week. We were only allowed to drive one day a week, so not many cars were out there. In fact, we didn't see any for the first couple of weeks. Every time we went, there was no cars. We were like, oh my God, did the world end? And we're like the only ones left. But that's when the pause button started. And some people took advantage of that right away. I have to confess, I wasn't one of the ones who could take advantage of it right away because I had to keep the businesses in order. But I'm taking advantage of it now. Better late than never, right? Better better take advantage of it now while it's still here. Pretty much till the end of the year. It's kind of feeling like people aren't going to do much traveling at least till the end of the year. And maybe it even depends on what happens in various elections in the world. Ecuador has an election coming up in February. The United States has one coming up in November, but that one's probably going to be a mess for a while. um, I know there's one in Canada, I think. And anyway, it just seems like all these things really need to settle down first, not to mention the virus thing and whether or not everybody has to take mandatory vaccines or not. And if that becomes a requirement for flying, I think we're going to have some trouble here at Gaia Sagrada getting people to travel. I wouldn't want to take a mandatory vaccine that wasn't tested and safe to travel, so I wouldn't blame anybody else for making that choice either. Um, Not that I'm for or against vaccines, just want to make sure everybody knows that because they have saved lives, the ones that work, the ones that have stood the test of time. There have been some mixed results with those vaccines still because some people are very allergic to them. I, it's kind of hit or miss who it affects badly. That's the problem. And you don't know until it's too late. So, anyway, I just think that if we're forced to do this pause in life, it's like a year-long pause in life, maybe even a little longer. If we're forced to do this long pause, let's really use the time wisely. Let's use the time well. Let's really think about how we want to change our lives. I've thought of a lot of changes I want to make in my life. For instance, delegate more of the work because I'm working a little too hard. Well, maybe a lot too hard. And I want to have certain people around me that, and other ones not around me, who I have used to tolerate, but I'm not going to tolerate now. So it's a good time to figure out what your boundaries are, because when you figure out what your boundaries are, you can set up a whole different experience in life. Honestly, I'm just kind of tired of mean people. and I used to be so tolerant. Well, I still am, but not so tolerant that I'm going to let them stick around that long anymore. I used to want to try to help them and heal them and all of that. Now I'm kind of like, hey, if you're not getting with the program and healing yourself and really trying, I can't push you to heal. I can't make it happen for them. And I'll say something like, check back in a couple of years after maturing for a couple of years, and then we'll see how it goes. So anyway, just take this time for yourself. Pause in life. Pause. And take this time to take care of yourself. Take this time to reevaluate how you're going to live your life from now on. And then you can have a whole different life when we go back to normal, so to speak, whatever that's going to be. I'm not sure we ever go back to quite exactly the same normal, which is a good thing because, and I've talked about this before, but it's a good thing that maybe we're not going to go back to normal because we just got functional in a dysfunctional world, right? So that's not necessarily healthy just because it's normal. And a person can get really used to being in a dysfunctional situation and think that that's normal. So think about how you want your life to look now. Use this pause button as a time to dream. Use it as a time to dream. This is a time you have to dream it first before it changes. So dream. And dream well, young grasshopper, 007 secret agent of love. Ciao.